I am really excited to share a tip with you today. This is a tip that I learned, when did I learn this? A long time ago, like maybe 10 or so years ago. It's a tip for making colors look really good. And it's a secret, like, I don't feel like you see it in sewing patterns or... I mean, maybe some blogs have it, but I feel like it's a very, it's not a very common tip, but it makes a big difference. I have cut out some collars. So I have two collars because when you make a collar you need two of the same piece, you know, one for the top and one for the bottom. So I have a collar here and then I have the band. If you're making a two-piece collar, then you need a band and a collar. So this is just regular like quilting cotton. I think I cut up a sheet. It works. I've done it with chambray. This is a tip for wovens, like if you're doing a button-up collar or button-up shirt or like a shirt dress, or actually it would work with facings. The same trick would work with facings. Anything that's woven where there's two pieces and you want one to kind of hide and then you want another one to really shine, I guess is a way. So what you want to do, so I have these two collars. They are the same. Usually one will be interfaced. You might sew in interfacing or fuse interfacing. For this like this quick tutorial, I didn't do interfacing just because I don't think it's that important to show you what it would look like with interfacing because it's going to look exactly the same. So what you do is you put right sides together all along the collar. So you're matching up your points just for now. And if one is interfaced, it might be a slightly different size. So you can see this whole collar that I just lined up. There's two pieces. So then I take my pins and let's pretend that this top one is the under collar. So it's what's under, the collar comes like this and it's the under collar. You want the under collar to hide. So what you're going to do is you're going to stretch it, you're going to pull it so the one that is going to be underneath, you're going to stretch it so that you're pulling it more into the seam allowance more. See how I'm not lining it up exactly. I'm pulling it out more like this. And I'm going to do that all along all of my sides. So it's a little tricky when you're, you know, I have to stretch one to fit the other one, and you only want to pull it out about 1/8 of an inch. You really don't need it to be pulled that much. So even down here I'm making it line up exactly, but up here it's a 1/8 of an inch. And you kind of, when I'm sewing, I'm going to have to stretch this a little bit to get those to fit. And then I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing where I pull it just past the other one. And what this is going to do is this is going to make the under collar really tight and stretched, so it will make the collar naturally fold under, and it will keep it from flipping up. So I'm going to keep pinning along the top edge, but I'm going to be pulling this down I'm pulling the under collar out by 1/8 of an inch because I want it to naturally have a curve, which I'll show you. It doesn't make sense very much while I am just talking about it, but once I sew it, I'll show you. And I am following, can you see it from here? So this is the piece that's pulled out, and this edge is the original edge. I'm going to follow this, pretending like this doesn't exist out here. So I'm just going to follow the edge of my There we go. So it looks like this is bubbling, not where I was sewing, but just this collar piece is larger than the piece behind it, which is exactly what we want. And you can see I sewed my stitches and I kept this edge pulled out all around the whole collar. I had that all the way around. I used a regular stitch. Now before I turn it right side out, I am going to trim the corners because it's hard to understand. If I can't poke out the corners, it's hard to see what's going on. So I've trimmed these corners and I'm going to turn my collar right side out. Let's see, I need to grab my point turner. So I'm going to turn it out like this. And I use my point turner to poke out the corner. I'm doing, let me get the other corner. So because I pulled one side, this collar is going to naturally want to curve. Okay, now you can see. So what I'm doing is this seam, I'm going to try to roll it out. I'm matching up these two raw edges here, which makes, since one is shorter than the other, it's making the seam allowance roll to this side, like coming to me. This is the shorter side, which is good. This is what we want. We don't want the stitchy or the seam to show on our collar when it's from the other side. You don't want it to show. So I'm just going to press this out really fast to get this color. But see this corner right here? This isn't lying flat. This is how it naturally wants to go. This is the special trick. This is what you want. You want it to curl down. So have you ever worn a shirt with a collar that just keeps flipping up when you wear it, or like a facing that won't stay inside of the dress or the shirt and it's just really annoying, or like a Peter Pan collar that just always is flipping up? If you do this trick, it won't have that problem anymore. So I'll show you over here. I'm even flattening that corner that was flipping up. I flattened it with the iron, but it still flips up. Even when I push it a little bit, that's what it naturally wants to do. If you see this collar, it naturally wants to come up here on the corners. It's curling up like this. So if you imagine this was around my neck, here, let me put you let me put it on and I'll show you. So this is going to be, you know, sewn onto a collar like this, onto a band. The side that was flipping up is the inside. This is the shorter, the smaller side that we pulled shorter. So when I do this, and if I were to, you know, button this up, this is curling down inside. Like it wants to hug my body instead of, do you hate when the collars do this? You don't want it to, you know, it always comes up. So when you do that trick, it hugs your body, it stays flat, it curls around my neck,